Welcome back, boys and girls. Daddy's home, and here with more of the anniversary edition of your mom, of Skyrim. First and foremost, I do want to point out that last week I was diagnosed with bronchitis, and as you all know, nobody's got time for that. But I apologize if my voice sounds bad. I know that it does. It sounds like absolute trash. Sort of losing my voice, but I'm kind of getting it back. Secondly, I want to wish you guys a very happy, very Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season for some epic stuff. I look forward to the future of this channel. I do want to thank you guys for all the traffic that I've gotten as of recent. I know that I was a guy who used to have like a couple dozen views if I was lucky, and last night when I checked, I had over 20,000 views on one of my recent videos. I also understand trust me, I know that was a result of nothing in particular that I did. That was 100% you guys, so thank you. I sincerely mean that. Thank you for the views, the support, liking these videos, subscribing to the channel. It all helps to build the channel. With that being said, there's two things particularly that I want to discuss on today's episode. First and foremost, that would be the 1.22 update file. I have an article in front of me by Diego Perez, and you can find this article on AOTF. So I'm gonna take a sip of this drink real quick. Help my voice. Sorry about that. So the update patch for me had really just two things that were kind of personal. First being the 0KB bug, which was a major drag. Nothing more underwhelming than trying to play the exciting new Anniversary Edition, only to find out that you can't because of that 0KB bug. So that was rough, guys, not gonna lie. They did patch that. According to what I'm reading here, it's supposedly fixed. I don't know that it's not going to be an issue for forever. Oh, I missed. But I do know, according to what I'm reading here at least, that it's been patched. The second thing I'm reading here that I was personally affected by is the out of memory bug and crash. I found that to be quite strange, but as you all know, I did propose a band-aid solution, if you will, which is wiping. Like, completely total wipe, delete everything and re-download, right? Which also had and presented some unique difficulties and problems. Namely, if you had been playing with mods, you run the risk of losing those mods. So basically, that's like the only two things I've noticed, at least that applies from this article that I'm reading here. At the end of the article, he does say, and I actually want to emphasize this because I really do think this will help the community. If you're playing on console, specifically like myself on PS4 and PS5, please annotate and submit a report and specify which console you're playing on. I think it'll help all of us as we move forward through the patch update. I try not to be too pessimistic about it. I actually feel quite optimistic about this update. I do fear, though, that updates, not always, but oftentimes can bring an issue to future content conflicts. So far, I haven't really noticed any real problems. The only thing I will say I've really noticed is like the game seems to be rendering. This is kind of a dramatic estimation, but it feels like 10 frames per second. Obviously, I know it's not 10 frames per second, but it does feel like some things are rendering into the screen like a really weird pace. Like I'll be standing next to the road, and all of a sudden something will just like pop up right next to me. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. So yeah, generally speaking, I feel pretty good about the update. I also understand that I was totally wrong. I really honestly did not think that Bethesda Game Studios would actually do a patch. So I eat my words, I stand corrected. Props to Bethesda Game Studios for putting out a patch to resolve that issue. I know it's at least based on some of the comments I was reading, it was kind of a point of contention and a disappointment for some, which I totally 100% understand. It was a drag, but props to Bethesda Game Studios. BGS came out with a pretty timely, I would argue, a pretty timely response for that. So all good things, all positive, wonderful things. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the mods I use, why, and in what order I use them. That's the second time I've missed. I feel like the timing on this has been a little bit weird. It could just be, though, that I'm out of touch from playing so much Subnautica the past few nights. That game is super fun, by the way. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the mods I use, why I use them, and in what order. As always, guys, play with mods at your own risk. Obviously, there's a lot of potential issues that can arise from playing with mods. My buddy plays with like probably close to 20 or 30 mods, and yeah, he crashes his game constantly. So for me, there's no particular order other than the order that's suggested by the author of the mod. I also don't feel like you'll notice a theme. Most of these mods really only revolve around my interests and problems that I've personally had to deal with and what I've done to address those issues. So starting at the very top, the unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. I feel like if you're going to play with mods, it's a good idea to use this one. I believe the author's name was Arthmore? Arthmore? Yeah, I want to say Arthmore, maybe, but basically it just addresses like a bunch of bugs. So definitely suggest using this mod if you play with mods. Coming down the list here, I got Obsidian Weathers. This is probably one of the better visual mods that I use. Absolutely visually stunning. Highly suggest it. I know it sounds silly, like when I say it just changes the weather, but that's an understatement. This mod's pretty unique. Huge fan. Cheat chest in Whiterun. This one feels a little broken. It doesn't really affect the game too much, but as someone who's played for thousands of hours, this isn't really a brag, but sometimes it is a drag to travel and find certain items that I'm looking for when crafting certain recipes, like smithing, whether it's alchemy. It's just kind of convenient, which is why I have this mod in particular. Quite simple, it just gives you access to large quantities of different things right at the smith location right there in Whiterun. So super easy, too easy. The fast alternate start, I've got to say, is probably one of the more recent mods that I've discovered that is quite fun. I'm going to take a sip of this real quick, guys. Sorry, 1 second. It soothes my soul, just like your mother. This mod kind of breaks up the monotony of the Helgen experience. As someone who's played this game for the last decade, okay, this sounds weird, but starting off as a Dragonborn is kind of weird. I feel like if you could start off as someone who's like drinking in an inn, or someone who was just robbed and left for dead, like out in the middle of nowhere, pretty unique experience that I feel like is fun. It's just a change of pace, change of scenery, if you will. Really nice way to start off the game, so highly suggest it. I don't think there's any specific load order for this one, but this is where I have it. Faster leveling is probably one of the only two mods I use that I feel actually alter the game. For me, this came down to wanting to progress more quicklier. I know that's not a thing, but anyway. Yeah, I just like the idea of getting quicker access to skill points for the skill tree. I guess you could say I'm a high-speed individual. Um, the rich merchants of Skyrim, pretty self-explanatory. I was just tired of like going and doing epic quests, getting tons of epic loot, coming back and then trying to sell everything. I often found that like merchants didn't have enough gold to like purchase all the things we were selling. So this was kind of the answer to that problem. Huge fan of the work. Nothing significant, really just more gold. So, and as far as I know, it shouldn't really affect or conflict with any other mods. But anyway, so this one's kind of cool. I say kind of cool because supposedly, I'm like 80% sure. And I obviously could be being pranked. I know the comments section isn't known for being canon doctrine on YouTube videos. However, I believe, with all intents and purposes, that the mod creator for this mod actually reached out to me in one of the comments. I did reply to that comment and told him to message me, direct message me on my Instagram, which if you guys don't know is Alanon or Riverwood on Instagram. Yeah, still nothing. But I will say this, if you intend to use a ranged character build like archery, this is probably one of the better ones. I was most impressed by the bleed effect. Personally, I do a lot of hunting, so the bleed effect is real. It's a tool when used when archery is the method of hunting or harvesting the animal. The bleed effect is quite real and kind of the purpose of using arrows, especially specific broadheads. But moving on. Coin minting. Coin minting is kind of funny. Obviously, like, the minting process is quite exclusive. Not everyone's going to have a mint for currency. It's kind of the point, right? But I just felt like... So, like, an ingot is basically just a brick of whatever material you have. And I feel like a brick of gold should be quite valuable, but especially if you have like a lower speechcraft level, you can't really sell it for what I feel it's actually worth. And I don't know why that bothered me so much, but to me this was a really unique answer to that issue that I had personally, and that is you can mint 100 gold coins with that ingot. So yeah, for me that was just, I don't know why that bothered me so much. Kind of in line with this one as well, I always thought it was strange that if your smithing was like 100 and you could craft an upper echelon armor such as dragon armor, why is it that you can't craft a simple woodcutter's axe, which I believe is in this list? Yeah, right there, woodcutter's axe. It just seems silly, and I am quite fond of the woodcutter's axe, so this was kind of a cool mod. I think further down the list, yeah, shiv. I don't know why it's so funny. I just find it funny. When I was in the Thieves Guild, I would often use that as like my primary one-handed weapon. I would enchant it, of course, but yeah, the shiv was good fun, good memories. Oh, so the Hunter's Treehouse, which I will say is kind of the, yeah, I would say it's the origin for the inspiration behind Alanon or Riverwood. So we owe it to Sierra 7, the author of this mod, one word, Sierra 7, for making this mod. It's probably, I mean, besides it being super dope because it's a treehouse, aside from the fact that it's in a stunning location with epic views, incredibly lore friendly, it's just near Riverwood, and I love that. You could probably guess I'm a fan of Riverwood based on the name of my fantasy character. But yeah, it's just a dope freaking mod. I love it about as much as I love your mom. Moving on to the Witcher race, kind of fun. I feel like pretty recent for me personally, but I like the idea of being a monster contract killer because it's pretty in line with my character build and type. Generally speaking, when I start off the game, I will usually chop a lot of wood, pick up bounties, try to develop my character a little bit before I jump into like a quest line to, I don't know, just I want to build the character type a little bit, kind of get familiar with my approach to this character specifically, and then from there, you know, create some depth with quests, storyline missions, and that sort of thing. So I don't really feel like it breaks the game. Like, yes, it starts off with a couple buffers. Namely, you got your alchemy, one-handed, block, light armor, heavy armor, archery, and speechcraft. So I mean, yes, there's a pretty significant buffer there, but I don't know, I would argue probably not significant enough to say it breaks the game. So moving on, this is another option that's near Riverwood as a house that I feel like is really good for people who are starting out in the game. Yeah, I was just kind of a fan. The only thing I will say that is, okay, this is the one negative thing I have to say about this mod specifically. There's two, I think, slaughterfish, that's right. There's two slaughterfish, like right near this location, so if you try to sleep or fast travel, you get that like notification that you can't because there's enemies nearby. So I mean, like, really, that's like my only quarrel with this mod. But otherwise, I freaking love it. It comes with like a unique bow that uses the like hunter's bow skin, hunting bow. It's pretty dope. I'm a fan. Oh, I mentioned wood chopping earlier. This is, I mean, okay, so obviously it's useful in that if you are chopping wood, but outside of that, it's not a very useful mod because it's obviously very specific. But if you're starting out and you want to make some extra gold, this is a really easy way to do that. It always bothered me that the script only allowed for 3 chops. Super weird. But the idea that you can chop 1,000 times, or excuse me, 100 times in a row now is quite convenient. So for me, obviously that's why I use this mod. Oh, so this one, in the spirit of transparency, yeah, I'm gonna say it. The Thieves Guild armors are absolutely dope. They look so cool. Probably now my second favorite. Silver armor always being the first now. But yeah, I just felt like the enchantments were a little underwhelming. Because obviously if you can, and you have like 100 enchanting skill, you can put 2 enchantments on armor and weapons on basically every item. So to me it just made sense that I would download this mod and then put my own personal enchantments that was conducive to someone who's in the Thieves Guild, but keeping in mind the lore of it all. So that's my personal preference. The more you get to know me, the more you realize I'm like replete with hypocrisies and self-conflict. But anyway, I don't know why. Obviously I understand that like mods is cheating, like using mods is cheating, but also I try not to cheat too much because then it almost ruins the experience for me. Hopefully that makes sense. Moving on, this mod specifically was a little more conducive to the idea of a richer race. A richer race, I almost said. Wow. Yeah. The Witcher race, which is a monster hunter, which I feel like should be lucrative anyway. So yeah, this is kind of the answer to that. You can now like collect some sort of income on like werewolf pelts, hag riven heads, and troll pelts. So pretty unique. I'm taking another sip of this, guys. Soothes my throat. There was a "that's what she said" joke there, but I won't. The Silver List expansion, which obviously I do use the silver sword. Probably one of my more favorite weapons, two-handed that is, to use. Significance behind this mod is it increased the list, expanded the list of what the silver sword does more effective damage to, which again, as a Witcher race, just kind of makes sense. You'll kind of see a theme here. A lot of these have to do with the character build at that time that I'm using, but also like my interests, right? So that's kind of the nice thing about this. Oh, also though, it does remove the description from like beneath the like name of the sword. It removes the description, so if you want to enchant it now, you can, but it also removes that description because that was annoying as hell. Which, speaking of enchantment, yeah, the enchantment supplies, this mod really just comes down to like convenience. It puts a couple, I think it's 2 if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 2 chests under Farengar's enchanting table in Whiterun, which again, if you're starting out as a new player and you want some quick early on access to some enchanting supplies, this is not bad, not a bad option at all. The crappy thing is the key was like hidden in his study. I also think there was a few enchantments that were like pretty significant that were missing from the enchantment list, but beggars can't be choosers, am I right? Coming down to the end here, I got these last 2 here. This mod right here, the unlimited rings and amulets, is probably the second of the 2 that I feel actually break the game. I say that because technically you can stack effects with this mod, which I do feel personally is a bit overpowered. I avoid that when possible because, like I said, it's weird, but cheating too much almost ruins the experience for me, and I usually find myself starting a new game if I feel that I have done that. So I would say this one's pretty unique, mostly because you can enchant your own personal rings and amulets and then stack them and use them. But I mean, it makes sense though, right? Because like, obviously we have 10 fingers. I mean, those of us who are lucky enough to have 10 fingers. So why not then 10 rings, you know? Anyway, that was just my personal opinion. So I like this mod. I try to use it sparingly, but I definitely abuse it at times. And lastly, guys, the better creature loot, which I don't know why it used to bother me so much. I think the idea of hunting and now fishing in the game is really, really special, especially if you're playing in survival mode. So being able to harvest more from the animals and creatures that you're harvesting and getting more loot is pretty significant. It never really made sense to me. Like, you go and hunt a goat, right? And you have 1 leg of goat when you fully well know that there's 4 legs on that goat. Now, I understand if you were to damage that part of the body while hunting, like, yes, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, just give us more. So this mod answers that problem. So you do in fact get more loot. Deer specifically, I think it's kind of funny. Like sometimes you can get 5 venison chops from a deer or elk, which I think is funny because obviously it's not how that works. But anyway, that's yeah, that's basically it, guys, for mods. Yeah. Well, guys, I hope you found that helpful. The what and why behind the mods I use. Please understand that these mods are mostly only for my personal use, based on the things I like to do in the game. I fully understand if you think there are better ones out there. I know there are. I also know that there's some more useful mods, but yeah, I definitely cater these to whatever my interests are at the time. So yeah, I hope you guys liked that explanation of what mods I use and why. Lastly, I just want to apologize for the lack of content over the last few weeks. Suffice it to say that I have been unavailable. Yeah, I've been out of town. Oh, let's say that I joined the Imperial Army, and basic training has presented some unique, I guess, difficulties with trying to start a YouTube channel. Namely, no access to my PlayStation and time to make and edit videos. But it's good to be home. It's been a wonderful Christmas. I hope you guys are well. I hope this video finds you well. And I want to again thank you guys. I appreciate you joining me for this. Thank you for liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, and for your views and support. I hope you continue to join me on this epic ride. I love it. I know your mom does too. Until next time, this is Alan on Riverwood, and I hope to see you in Skyrim.